Hello folks, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among other things. Now what we're going to look at is just strictly a technical analysis. There's no fundamentals here. We're looking at Bitcoin Gold and checking out the recent price increase. I've got a lot of requests for this recently, so I just want to make sure that we help you find a good entry point as well as understand best practice for climates like these. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. Please always do your own research. And also just know that there is a link in the description below for $25 in Bitcoin from Voyager, as well as a link to our Telegram community so you can get engaged and communicate with myself and the group essentially to learn as much as you can about stock chart analysis as well as other things, right? So we're all here to learn and grow together. So be sure to check that out. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right to it. Alright folks, let's go ahead and take a closer look at Bitcoin Gold. Just before we do, we always look at Bitcoin as a baseline to kind of see how the price action is moving, as well as Ethereum, just to understand the big picture, because a lot of things that we cover are impacted greatly by either of these two entities. So just want to make sure we cover that. So we'll take a quick peek and then dive deeper into going on with Bitcoin Gold. So what is essentially happening there? So first things first, we're looking at Bitcoin here. And as you're probably aware, we had a recent sell-off and a major increase. So what's kind of interesting about this is that the major resistance and support level of 57,000 has been tested multiple times. So it's really hard to say specifically what's going on. It likes to jump between 53 and 57. But good news is this support level at 53,300 is holding, and the resistance level at 57,000 essentially is holding as well. So it's still kind of in this channel, so to speak. So we're hoping for the price to go above and stay above. But at this point, strong decrease, strong increase, can't quite seem to make up its mind. But at this present moment, the 200-day moving average is below the price action, so that's a very good sign, as well as 150-day moving averages. So all in all, decent shape with Bitcoin right now. We just gotta hope that the price can hold above this line. So we'll see what happens with that. Ethereum had hit kind of pause recently with all the indecision in Bitcoin. So, as you can see, this little mess right here is essentially Bitcoin trying to figure out if it wants to go up or down between 53 and 57,000. Price broke above the previous resistance level of about 3,500, and now it's starting to sell off again. So we'll see what happens with that, but just want to kind of set the baseline. That is the what's going on with Ethereum and Bitcoin right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin Gold now. Now Bitcoin Gold looks a lot like Ethereum. It's kind of shooting straight up. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the one-day chart first and move our way down. I like to start with 1 day and then go down to 4 hour and then 15-minute, etc. Kind of see what's going on. Now I did cover this one previously when the price shot up a while back, and as you can tell, it hasn't been on. I'm using Binance right now. This is a TradingView application through Binance, so it hasn't been on here for that long. So since the 15th, essentially, what is that? That's only about 20 days of trading on Binance. So as usual, once it comes in, price goes way up, comes way down, and it shot really hard on this day here. This was what, the 22nd? I think that's when I covered it last. Went up to 159. We may as well just say 160, because that's probably pretty close to where it went. And right now it's trying to probably get back up there. So what we should expect to see if the price continues is for it to test that resistance level of 160. So I'd say that's currently a major resistance line that we need to kind of be aware of. Okay? Because right now when it makes higher highs like this, the resistance lines are consistently being created, but this was a major one. Obviously, it could only go so high at that point. It'll be interesting to see what happens next. But right now, price appears to be jumping around 150, 152 range. So it's getting kind of close, all things considered. But a lot of movement here today. So we look at this. Today we're up about right in the 15% range. And yesterday jumped up a good 33%. So some pretty significant increases over the past 2 days. That's a lot of growth. But it makes sense because this is a pretty decent coin. I've got a lot of my subscribers are really like this coin a lot. So it makes sense, the whole concept. Do your own research on the fundamentals, of course, but I do think this one is something that's worth investing in, because it kind of kind of brings Bitcoin to the common people, right? Where you can mine it yourself. Again, do your own research, of course, but you don't need a fancy machine to mine this type of Bitcoin. So anyway, so that's kind of what the one-day chart looks like. Not a lot going on with the indicators because it's kind of such a short time frame. We don't have a lot of data on the one-day chart, but RSI is trending upwards closer to 70. It's right about 65. So, still all in all, pretty good shape. What's interesting too is the volume over the last 2 days. If you look at it here, it's 290, 280,000 roughly. But look at the volume on this day, 1.67 million. So what I'd like to see is the volume continue to increase. That would make me feel a lot better about the higher highs, because volume is a really big indication of if you're going to consistently be making higher highs. So just keep that in mind too. Pay attention to the volume. So let's go ahead and move on to the 4-hour chart, kind of see what's going on here. And there's no surprise. Nice, solid 4-hour green bars. I like this a lot. Thing I don't love, of course, and this is just me being conservative, you'll hate me if you will, but whenever I see the RSI on the 4-hour chart over 70, I do get a little timid and concerned about taking entry. It's not a terrible sign here, because again, we're making higher highs consistently, and it hasn't been doing this for 5 or 6 days in a row. It's only around 2 or 3. Usually when you have there's a state of exhaustion right around day 4 or day 5. We saw it recently with Ethereum Classic, where it kind of the 4th day it kind of consolidated, it ramped up again, but I think it's probably going to eventually lose steam. I don't want it to. I like that coin, but that's just kind of how it works, right? So just pay attention to market exhaustion that can happen over a course of so many days. So I think we're in the halfway stage right now where we could see the price continue to increase, but also bear in mind there could likely be a sell-off as well, because when the RSI gets overbought like this, as high as it has, then you can kind of see that there's a exhaustion period perhaps coming in the near future. It may not be right now, but it will be likely soon in the next couple of trading days. Especially with all this volume. Look at all this green bar volume there. That's awesome to see. That's a good bullish signal, but it's also concerning too, just the fact that the amount of volume that's going on in just one direction. They're going to lose that momentum eventually. Okay, so just something to be aware of. But again, these are all bullish indicators. There's nothing here that says that the sentiment has changed yet, especially with the higher highs getting what is that, 150, almost 153 now. Let's take a look at the 15-minute chart, kind of see what's going on here. So as you can see, a little bit of consolidation, of course, after that major little increase there. Wow, that went up almost like $20 right there, that little spike in 15 minutes. That's pretty good. That's a lot of volume and a large percent increase overall. Okay, so 15-minute chart here, what I see is actually pretty healthy, because if you can see the growth, normally when the RSI on the 15-minute chart goes up over 70, it's kind of a concern. At least for me, I kind of get worried, and I usually like to try to sell and trim some off the top. But when I'm looking at this chart here, I like it because it's consistently tapping the 70 RSI point and kind of receding. So it's kind of, that's a really nice indication when higher highs are being made, if it doesn't over exaggerate and doesn't shoot up too fast, too strong. Because these kind of higher highs are comfortable, right? What we just saw here, that was a little much. That was a bit of a drastic push, and then there was a bit of a retrace, but it's still continuing on. But in most cases, when you see RSI pop up over 70, it can be, there's oftentimes a retrace that happens. So you saw that right here, and the same thing right here as well. It wasn't major though, because there's a lot of momentum going on. The bulls are in absolute control right now. So I would venture to guess that the price will continue up to that 160 mark, and we'll see what happens when it tests that resistance level. So just for fun, let's go ahead and take a look at the 1-minute chart, see what's going on here. And yeah, you see this large gap up there too. Strong volume spikes, yeah. So all in all, this definitely looks like it's going to continue. I would be surprised if the price didn't continue up to 160 and then test that resistance level. So what I'd recommend in a climate like this, to find the best entry, honestly, with it being only $5 away from the resistance line of 160, I feel that it would be best to wait for the price to tap that line and see what happens first before you take entry. Again, I'm a conservative trader. I don't necessarily like to take a lot of risk. I've gotten scrutiny on that recently because of the fact that when the price keeps shooting up and up and up, I usually wait for a good entry point, and sometimes I can wait too long. There's no doubt about that. So perhaps if you feel great about this coin and you know that's something you're going to hold on to for a while, get in while you still can. But to me, I'm more risk averse. I'd wait for the price to touch the 160 resistance level and see how it reacts. If on the 15-minute chart you see it touch that resistance line, and the price continues to close 3, 4, 5 15-minute red bars, then it could indicate a shift in momentum. Also bear in mind too, if you start seeing the volume decrease, the green bar volume, then that can be an indication as well of a shift in momentum. But just keep in mind that this is considered overbought right now and overextended according to the MACD, so all the indicators are there that the momentum is likely going to shift soon. It will most likely touch the resistance level of 160 and either get rejected or do what you see right here and blast through it to just jump above and keep going. I'd be surprised if it kept going, just based on the fact that we've had 3 really strong days. Is that right? I would say that's pretty strong. Yeah. So this is the third push, if you will. Now, bear in mind this green bar here just started an hour and a half ago. So that's a lot of movement in just that short amount of time. So again, pay close attention to this indicator here, the correction of the resistance line. I'll mark that for later, and we'll see kind of how that reacts. But if I was in this situation, I would wait for the price to hit this line. Sorry, it's not want to work with me here. And see how it reacts. In other words, if it hits it and it rejects and it stays below, wait to take entry until you have confirmation above that line, no less than 30 minutes. And when I say confirmation, I usually like to wait for 2 solid green bars. Again, that's me being very conservative. You could take entry with 1 solid green bar if you'd like. But just bear in mind, that's not a full confirmation. That's not the kind of confirmation you want to have, and that can likely reverse on you. So to further that, I would recommend, if you're going to take entry without full confirmation, put a small percent in. Do not go all in. Again, if this is something you want to invest in for the rest of your life, then great. Go all in, leave it in. There's nothing worse than going all in and having the price reject on you and retrace down super hard, super fast. It's very likely to happen based on how fast it's moved up in the last, just say, hour and a half alone. So just exercise caution and be careful, right? So let's take a look here. So wow, it's at 159.90 right now. So we might even be able to see what happens at the 160 mark. So let's go ahead and mark that. This is 160 right here. Depending on what happens, it will either continue and blast above this line, or it will get rejected and come crashing down, or it may even consolidate on this line too, and essentially create its average true range within this price, right? So just bear that in mind, keep that in mind. It's an interesting scenario that we're in right now. So I just exercise caution. That's my recommendation here. If you're a risky trader and you like to jump in on cases like this and kind of ride the hype train, then all the more power to you, right? But I just recommend you maybe sit back, relax, see what happens before taking entry, and wait for that resistance line to continue to be tested, which it will likely continue to do here in the next few minutes. So looking at the 1 minute, this is 160 right here. As you can tell, the bulls and the bears are fighting right now for dominance, and it's hard to say specifically what will happen. But again, this doesn't carry a lot of weight, but on the 1 minute chart, when the price does go up over the RSI as well, over 70, that is a sign for reversal. And coincidentally, that right as soon as it hit the $160 range, the price is retracing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I don't want to just sit here and wait for you to see it. You'll obviously have a delayed version of what I'm recording right now anyways, so I really hope that the price does continue to pass that point. but just wait for confirmation like I always recommend doing. Don't take a full entry unless you plan to hold this for a very, very long time. But if you're a short-term swing trader or day trading right now, absolutely wait for confirmation above that line. And then furthermore, ensure that if the price does come down, you, if nothing else, at least wait for the price to bounce off of the volume weighted average price, the VWAP, before you take entry. Wait for confirmation there, because this is literally the only support level you have right now with all the price action being the way that it is. So there's really no major support and resistance line we can count on. I mean, maybe this one here right around 114, but that's so far away, I don't think it's going to be tested anytime soon. So you're better off relying on the volume weighted average price if the price comes down to see what kind of confirmation we have. And if it bounces off the VWAP and holds above that for 30 minutes, then that would be a good enough confirmation for me to take entry. That's usually what I wait for in situations like this, isn't just to wait for the resistance line to be tested. If it retraces and comes back down and touches on the VWAP, that's typically a good sign for entry. In other words, if you look back here, for example, when you see the VWAP was tested, it was tested right in this range here. But here's the two solid green bars I'm referring to. You see these two solid green bars? That's the confirmation I wait for. And then the price continues to go up. I prefer to use that method when it comes to the price increasing consistently like it has been. But again, be very cautious, be very careful. And I hope that you find this to be beneficial. So let me know in the comments below if you're invested in Bitcoin Gold and what you're hoping from it. So it's going to be interesting. Also, join our Telegram community if you haven't already. Let's all talk openly about this and continue to learn from one another. Okay. But I can't thank you very much. Can't thank you enough, and thank you very much for joining me here today. And we'll see you in the next video. You take care. We'll see ya.